Good morning, Burbs. My name is Azalera, and it's story time. Since Magatsu now is the active emergency quest, or well, urgent quest as they call it in the North American server, it kind of reminds me of back then what I used to do. Probably sometime back around, say, 2014 or so, when Magatsu was like the first present EQ and everything like that, and we're like, oh my god, what is this boss? It was a rather fun time where we had all the weak bullet wars and whatnot, but I kind of took it one step further. I played Ranger Braver back in the day, with extended bullet bows being able to be equipped by Rangers. Of course for today's meta that's not exactly the best strategy per se, but back then before they had all the class bonuses and everything like that, it was a rather viable strategy and a very peculiar one at that. So yeah, honestly don't really try it today, but my point is I never really got to play bullet bow at all ever since back then. And the reason for that is basically because bullet bow has always been a really niche weapon and it's seriously hard to use, with its problems being the high PP cost and not enough damage output and stuff like that, and it's also really reliant on its burst damage with banishing arrow and whatnot. So for the most part, to play it even effectively, you kind of have to have such a large PP pool, which, is really hard to get back then. Although with the recent patch on the PSO2 Japanese server, we have now the complex PA called Cerulean Ballista, which honestly really does fit in a new dynamic that we've never seen before in bullet bows, kind of-ish, but it's fun. And while today we can also play combinations such as Braver Etoile to help with all the PP reduction and the tankiness and whatnot, I would not say that it necessarily solves all the problems that bullet bow has, neither does Cerulean Ballista or even the previous bullet bow mobility changes and all. But regardless of which, I still find it really fun personally, and then after especially not really touching it for that long, it honestly feels like a new world to me, despite being someone who already played this game for what is forever. So after experimenting with bullet bow and just playing around with Braver Etoile for a while, honestly, even if it's not the most efficient weapon, I kind of really enjoy it. So I ended up making a purist bow that looks something like this. I wouldn't say it's anything particularly too special per se, because it's pretty standard all in all. But because of the potential of the purist weapon alone, it does help me with PP sustainability for a good bit, which honestly kind of allows me to do something stupid like this. Particularly with Braver Etoile's same art's PP save, I can kind of just spam this penetrating arrow for what is forever, as the arrow kind of just takes literally 1 PP, does a good chunk of damage, and if I don't get hit at all, I also get 20 PP restoration every 10 seconds? So with this build path and playstyle in mind, I kind of just wanted to try something fun. A bullet bullet playstyle where I don't have to worry about using all the banishing arrow and everything at all. Oh, and also one very important fact, for anyone who watched me for a really long time would probably know that I did have a bullet bow character a long time ago which I never touched, and well, now you know why. Regardless of the fact, I've been asked a lot, where is she now? She got reworked a little bit and now this is how she looks compared to before. Also, her name is Kyoka now, so I really hope you guys like her new redesign compared to the previous. Anyways, fast forward to present day Japanese servers, we now have Ultra Hard Omega Luther, and well, the next clip that you're about to see is a very nice gameplay that I recorded some time back. Given that this is actually before I fixed the auxiliary arrow on my purist, but regardless, I think this is a pretty cool and interesting way to approach the Luther fight. So sit down tight and let's see what's going on. So starting off the fight here, we always see Luther will slam down his hand. Naturally, in situations like these, it's almost impossible for you to line up all the penetrating arrow and do any of your combos, so the only thing I figured would be the best thing to do is just spam Master Shot, since it's homing and all anyways. So when he sticks his arm to the ground earlier, or when his shoulder core is open like this, it's actually better to do penetrating arrow shots, since those are still targets that you can line up for the 2 hits of the penetrating arrow shots, just like what you're seeing here right now, as opposed to the arm core where it just broke too fast before the banishing even got to go off. So when you don't have access to any of the breakable parts, honestly just target his head, or the beak for that matter. But now here's one thing that a lot of people may not know. You can actually hit Luther when he's far away using penetrating arrow. So after you break the first arm in the core, he changes to fast phase, so you want to do the same to the next arm. It may be a little hard to hit since he's moving around a lot, but try your best anyways, because once you break the second arm, what you want to do is poison the clock. This is used to both not just open the clock, but also reset his fast phase. And as you can see here, I'm just using penetrating arrow now because I really don't know how fast things will break, so I can't really banish reliably. Then once his clock breaks, he resets back to the normal, so we broke his arm, so now he has to regenerate his arm. Whether you poison his clock or break his beak, both can actually achieve the same effect, as long as you don't overdamage the boss himself. And what you saw just now was the burst potential of Cerulean Ballista, which was the new Bow's complex PA. Pretty handy if you ask me. Sure, the banishing combo can actually do more damage, but that's wasting PP and also it takes a bit of time. Cerulean Ballista basically costs nothing, and still does a sizable amount of damage regardless, so I actually kinda like it more than the banishing combo itself. To a Bow Braver, especially with this build, the time stop phase is more or less just a free DPS phase. The only thing that you have to be careful is the time stop swords, which is really hard to see honestly if you're tunnel visioned. So here I don't need to focus on any of the swords at all because I can trust in my team fully for them to break everything. The reason we're trying to push the damage here is because we wanted to see if we can actually skip this first time stop and push his damage phase to the second time stop. Unfortunately that fell short just a little bit, but we simultaneously got the second time stop regardless anyway, so I guess it's okay. On that note, Bow does have Sharp Bomber, which can actually avoid the time stop as it gives a good amount of invincibility frames. As you see that I just dodged the second time stop there, easily, with the Sharp Bomber Type 0 craft. And then now you're starting to see that you're actually getting a lot of damage just by sitting here and just spamming Penetrating Arrow. Because, you know, he does go out for a time stop for a rather long time. So the next logical thing to go for here is the beak. Or well, since the core is open now, well the clock rather, you can actually just go for that as well. Since at the point of this recording, it was basically the second or third Omega Luther, we still don't exactly know the health threshold of him, so I thought it was a good idea to just go for the beak and go for full break. But it kinda turns out that he kinda just died anyways, so if I really wanted to maximize damage, I had 2 more Cerulean Ballistas, and I could just go for the clock that is already open. And there you have it, my 3-minute Luther run that didn't take a single banishing arrow explosion, mostly because I missed it. But the point kind of is, there's actually honestly many ways to play a class. I feel like there's this one perception where everyone says like, oh, Bow Braver has to always do the banishing arrow combos and everything like that. But honestly, even though doing this, with the introduction of Cerulean Ballista and all, I took 0 damage, did a good amount of damage, and had a really comfortable 3-minute run with my team. So all ends well, regardless of what. Oh, and before I ended up leaving this area, I kind of wanted to show you all how Cerulean Ballista works. I totally left the 2 Cerulean Ballista charges to give you guys a demonstration, okay? Not that I forgot to use it or anything. But the first firing mode is when you're standing still, you kind of shoot down this arrow that does 1,000,000 damage. It takes a little while to impact though, but it can do a lot of damage and you can miss with it, so just be careful. So the second firing mode happens when you're moving. Instead of 1 big shot, it fires 9 in a horizontal line. Of course it's weaker than the 1, but it's incredibly powerful for mobbing. And to an extent you can even say it's more reliable than the actual 1 shot, because it's kind of hard to miss. So honestly you just have to find the situations you find best for both, such as using the still Ballista on the core downs, or use the spread on the mobs. So regardless of what I showed you here is just one example of how I personally approach the Bow Braver in today's meta, as well as how I play it personally. There's no exact one correct answer to how to play, and there's of course many strategies that you can employ as well. Such as for example, saving all your Cerulean Ballista charges for, say, a clock open or a core down or something like that, where you know that you can just punch in as much damage as you want to. As long as the boss stays down, that is. Or you can even do stuff like, say, the normal banishing combo, which consists of basically doing a banishing arrow into a final nemesis, and then either you follow up with all the penetrating arrows or master shots. Or even to an extent, you can just completely forego all of that and just go for the head whenever applicable, which is basically just about every time. Doing that does take a little bit more effort though, only because you kind of have to aim for the head and just, you know, manually aim yourself, and then you can miss quite a lot of things. There's also even the possibility of adding more chase arrows here and there during downtime, so I can actually have more DPS. But I think that is just about your time to go figure out and just really find out what you like the most and what you're comfortable with playing the most. That is the joy of PSO2 after all, being able to figure out everything and how you like to play things. So after seeing all this now, what do you think? Would you like to give Bow Braver a try and go experiment? At the end of the day, honestly it's really up to you, but personally, like I said since the very beginning of the video, I found myself playing something very different in a very different style than what I'm used to, and I just think it's really fun. For anyone playing in North America at the time of this recording, I guess this is kind of a snippet of what you can expect to see in the future. So honestly, really hope you're excited to see what's gonna be in store for you in the future to come. So with that said, hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think though. Should I do more commentaries in the future, or do you enjoy this type of video? Either ways though, thanks so much for taking the time to watch the video. Take care of yourself and don't forget to smile, alright? I'll see you all in the next video. Later!